Welcome back to Arsenal News TV, and today we're going to look at how Arsenal will line up versus West Brom, and we're going to go straight into the formation in terms of what Mikel Arteta is going to do. Is he going to stick with the 4-3-1 formation, which didn't work against the likes of Brentford, who played a back three, and the likes of Chelsea, who also played a back three? And in terms of West Brom, are they going to play a back three? That's a question that the manager will decide for West Brom, but they might also play that back three formation as well, and it could haunt Arsenal once again if they stick with this 4-2-3-1 formation. But since we're looking at how Mikel Arteta could line up Arsenal and not how I would line up Arsenal, if you guys want to see how I would line up Arsenal, I'll do it after I talk about how Mikel Arteta will line up Arsenal. But in terms of how he will line them up, I think he will remain with that 4-2-3-1 formation, because I think that's the preferred formation, and I don't think Mikel Arteta likes to change his formation around radically, like something that Unai Emery did whenever it was a different opposition, and you look for the weakness of that team and really change the tactics to a very large extent. But when it comes to Mikel Arteta, he likes to keep things simple, and he likes to stay with the similar formation. So moving into the goalkeeper, who will Mikel Arteta go with, since we now have two good goalkeepers in the form of Bernd Leno and Aaron Ramsdale? I thought Bernd Leno did have a good game in terms of his shot-stopping ability, but in terms of his playing out from the back, I think he lacks heavily in that position, because every pass he did, whenever he had the opportunity to do a goal kick, he always put it long. I don't know if that was due to the Mikel Arteta's tactics, or if it was him just being very not confident and being very poor when it comes to playing out from the back. And it all stems from the goalkeeper, and if the goalkeeper cannot play out from the back, then it's a huge problem. So with that decision, I think Mikel Arteta is going to go with Aaron Ramsdale, given the fact that Aaron Ramsdale was bought for £24 million with performance-based add-ons, which take you up to £30 million. And I have a strong feeling Mikel Arteta brought in Aaron Ramsdale to be the new number one at Arsenal and really challenge Bernd Leno, because he's done it at the biggest level in terms of Premier League, because he's played in the Premier League with the likes of Bournemouth and Sheffield United, even though they have got relegated, and he has won the Player of the Year in both those clubs, and he has had a very good run of winning the Player of the Year. So in terms of Aaron Ramsdale at Arsenal, I think he could make a huge impact, and all it takes is just one game to make these Arsenal fans fully invested into Aaron Ramsdale and really enjoy him as a player. So if you had that outstanding performance versus the likes of West Brom, then he'll probably be very much preferred, and no one will really think about the price. So in terms of the right back, who will Mikel Arteta go with? There are a few options. There are a few options for Mikel Arteta. The likes of Cedric Soares, who did play in the game versus Chelsea and by far was average, but he did do his defensive duties well, but he wasn't given the license to really attack, because most of the attack was down the left-hand side. In terms of the likes of Hector Bellerin is someone that doesn't want to play at Arsenal this season and wants to make the move elsewhere, and that has been going on and on and on, and he is very desperate to leave Arsenal. He's ready to reduce his wage demands and really wants to play for another football club. And then we got Callum Chambers, who I might think might play in this match, but not in the right back position, as by trade he is not a right back and he is more of a centre back. And that is why Mikel Arteta is looking at the likes of Kieran Trippier and other right backs such as Max Harris, who has been mentioned as the replacement, the long-term replacement to Hector Bellerin, but it all depends on Bellerin initially leaving the football club. But I think a good shout by Mikel Arteta will be Ainsley Maitland-Niles, as he will be given the opportunity to give these players such as Maitland-Niles, who have been fringe players at the football club, and his mindset is that he wants to play in the middle of the park, even though Mikel Arteta views him as a right back, and most of the football fan base do really see him as a right back, as he can really slot well in that position, and he could be that player that makes that unexpected appearance and really starts to kick on and leads to Mikel Arteta not even looking for a new right back. So moving into that right centre back position, who will Mikel Arteta go with? Well, we have the likes of Rob Holding, we have the likes of Callum Chambers, we've got the players such as Ben White. Unfortunately, Ben White cannot feature in this game due to him having COVID-19, and he is still affected, so he won't feature in this game. Whereas the likes of Rob Holding, who did feature in the game versus Chelsea, is unlikely to feature in the game versus West Brom, even though he will have a physical presence and really give the players such as Dianganga and players such as Robinson a real opportunity to show his physicality. But I think he will go with Callum Chambers, given the fact that Chambers is a player that is a fringe player currently at the club, but he is a very versatile player. We can all understand the fact that he's very versatile. That's why he's a great addition. He's a great squad player, but he needs to make himself a bigger player and really show some performances. And this is a sort of game where he can get those minutes and be that squad player of this football club, because we need better players. Even though we made that £50 million acquisition of Ben White, he can really be good substitutes if the player is injured or does have illnesses such as COVID-19. So in that right centre-back position, we're going to go with Callum Chambers. But in that left centre-back position, we got the likes of Pablo Mari or Gabriel Magalhaes. And this is a position where Mikel Arteta really wants to have one player in that position, and has a player that only has to be left-footed rather than a right-footed centre-back. And that is something that Mikel Arteta really invests himself into. He thinks that when it comes to two centre-backs, you should have one left-footed and right-footed, and the other right-footed, because this will create some balance. But I really do not understand that that mindset, because I would love other players to be given the opportunity. But Pablo Mari is the player that looks likely to feature under Mikel Arteta this game, because Gabriel Magalhaes may not, even though he's been in full contention in training, and he is likely to probably being given up appearance versus Manchester City rather than West Brom, he is someone that I'll rather see than Pablo Mari. But due to the way Mikel Arteta works things out, he will probably go with Pablo Mari, because he has been shaky. Even though he has been shaky in the last few games, I think he will still stick with Pablo Mari. And there are moments where I start to see Pablo Mari make mistakes such as Mustafi in certain moments, but his mindset needs to be in the game. I don't know what has gone wrong behind the scenes, but I think there are big problems behind the scenes at Arsenal, and we already know this time and time again. I knew this problem 10 years ago, but ever since Kroenke took over at Arsenal, and we don't know everything, but we are fully invested as fans, and hopefully we don't not have any more problems, and we just get this victory over West Brom to at least have a little bit of good morale and a confidence boost versus Manchester City, even though it's 99% likely that we will lose that game. So moving into that left-back position, who will Mikel Arteta go with? I think we have two decent left-backs in the form of Kieran Tierney and Nuno Tavares. But even though Kieran Tierney looked like he limped off during the game versus Chelsea, but he had some cramps, but I think Nuno Tavares is a really good addition. I think he's one player that I think Mikel Arteta has made. He's made that acquisition of Tavares. He was one of the first transfer signings at this club. He was the first transfer signing for the Gunners. And I think Tavares is someone that will surprise a few people. I think the way he's taken his business, I like his calm and composed nature. I think he really cares for this football club, and he really wants to make a difference in this football club. And this is a great opportunity to showcase his ability, because we all know he has a strong right foot. Because I remember in his first pre-season friendly, in his first debut, he took out it with his right foot and he scored it. And his right foot looks really good, as more better than players that currently have the stronger foot as their right foot. And Tavares for me is a good player, and I think he's someone that could be an unsung hero for this Arsenal squad this season. And definitely with Kieran Tierney being the first choice left back, it's very likely that Nuno Tavares will feature under Mikel Arteta in the game versus West Brom. And when it comes to Tavares, he's a young, hungry player and needs to show that his value is somewhere in the region of £10 million. So now moving into the midfield, who is Mikel Arteta going to go with? There are a few players that Mikel Arteta will likely choose in that midfield. There is the likes of Thomas Partey, unfortunately is injured and only will return during the latter stages of this month or starting in September. And players such as Granit Xhaka, Mohamed El Neni, Ainsley Maitland-Niles can also play in that midfield. Joe Willock has now made that move to Newcastle United, so we can't add him to the equation. So I definitely think that we need a new midfielder in this transfer window. We only have 5 days left of the transfer window, and Mikel Arteta hasn't made any important acquisitions in that midfield other than Sambi Lokonga. But I think Lokonga is a player that won't feature in this game. I think he's seen more of as a first team player rather than a second team player. And in that midfield, I think first in that right centre-mid position, we're going to go with Mohamed El-Neni. And since Mikel Arteta made the move to go with Mohamed El-Neni over Lucas Torreira at this football club, we understand the situation with Torreira. Yes, he didn't want to play for the football club last year, but he's changed his mind and really wants to make an effort. But Mikel Arteta has said, you're not in my plans, and he has told him to go to Fiorentina on loan. And that's a great opportunity for him and could be a smart move. And it could be a very smart move by Mikel Arteta, unless Fiorentina pay the 50 million euros that is put into his contract as well. And it's a big baffling decision by Mikel Arteta to keep El-Neni over Lucas Torreira, which I think will make a bigger difference than El-Neni. And I really did want to see him give an opportunity, at least in one of these games before the summer transfer window closes. But he's made the moves to Fiorentina and he's made the moves to Florence to play on loan. Partnering him will be in the form of either Granit Xhaka, Sambi Lokonga, who have mentioned that won't be in that position, and that shows our lack of midfielders and really shows that Xhaka will be starting in this game, even though I'd rather see other players such as the youngsters being given opportunity, which I will start to enable in after this lineup from Mikel Arteta. Then at the end of this, I'll show you my lineup as well. So moving into the number 10 role, who is Mikel Arteta going to go with? There are a few names Mikel Arteta can choose, such as Emil Smith-Rowe and Martin Ødegaard. And when it comes to Martin Ødegaard, he has been seen as the top priority for Mikel Arteta. He was the signing that he wanted to do, and he is someone that is young, hungry, and has bags of experience at different clubs. But all he wants is for stability, and he's going to have it at this football club. Hopefully there isn't the situation where he's got stability at a football club that doesn't make it into the Champions League anytime soon. Hopefully he makes the right decision and also return to being a good club, even though there are a lot of things that look wrong at this football club. So in that number 10 role, I think Mikel Arteta will go with Smith-Rowe, given the fact that Martin Ødegaard has just returned to training, has started his first training session yesterday, and he is someone that rather Smith-Rowe has the experience, has the opportunity to impress, and if he can get a goal or two in this game, it will only boost his confidence for the game versus Manchester City. So in that right winger role, in terms of who Mikel Arteta is going to go with, I think he only has a few options, such as Nicola Pepe, Bukayo Saka, and Reiss Nelson. You can also operate in that role as well. But in terms of Mikel Arteta, when it comes to Willian looks unlikely to feature because he has COVID-19 still. But apparently the move to Corinthians looks like a good opportunity for Willian to leave the club. And I think that was a decision that Mikel Arteta will live to regret. But we all make decisions in life, and we have to not know that this is the right one or the wrong one. We can always forgive that. If he makes the right decision now to sell him to Corinthians, even if it's on a free transfer, that's £200,000 a week wages out from if he's gone. So in that right winger role, who is Mikel Arteta going to go with? I think he will go with Nicola Pepe, given the fact that it is for his confidence and to show that he is capable of playing at a good level and really start to get some goals, because not of Arsenal fans know that this is Nicola Pepe's season, want this to be the season where Nicola Pepe thrives. But in the first two games, there are very small moments where I've seen that capability. But he should now take a bit more responsibility, show these young players what it is to play for this football club, and really make a statement this season. Because if he can get that in his mindset, if he can get a run of goals, if he can get those 20-figure goals and that 10 assists, what he can replicate when Arsenal signed him in the first place, then we'll have a better chance of looking at higher up in the league and really getting back into European competition and making Arsenal a force once again. So in terms of that left winger role, who is Mikel Arteta going to go with? And we've got the similar wingers such as Saka, Nicola Pepe, players that can also operate in that position. Willian, unfortunately, can't play, and it's very likely that he will be leaving the club, hopefully. And other players such as youngsters that we can also put in that position. There's moments where Hutchinson for the under-23s has impressed heavily, and he might be given that odd shout. But I think Mikel Arteta has other players that want to really play in that position, and definitely one of them is Reiss Nelson. And Reiss Nelson is a player that Mikel Arteta told last season to go out on loan and told this season to go out on loan, but he didn't make that decision, and he wants to still fight for his place at this football club. So up front, who is Mikel Arteta going to go with? I think there is 4 opportunities to play in that striker role. You got Gabriel Martinelli, you got Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Alexandre Lacazette, who have both returned to full training. Aubameyang featured in the game versus Chelsea, and Folarin Balogun. When it comes to Martinelli, he can operate in either wing, but I think he deserves some minutes off the bench because on the bench rather, because he's played a lot of minutes. He's just came back from the Olympics and he wants to play for his football club. You understand the passion, but hopefully he can make a performance versus Manchester City because these are the youngsters we have to rely on. So I think Mikel Arteta is going to go with Folarin Balogun, given the fact that he has a great opportunity to show what he's worth, because it's a tight team in the Championship where we might even go currently at 19th position. But Folarin Balogun for me will be a great shout and a great opportunity to play and score some goals for Arsenal. So this is how I think Mikel Arteta will line up Arsenal, because he will have Aaron Ramsdale in the goalkeeper position, show that it's a statement signing by Mikel Arteta to flash the cash and show that he's a top level keeper. Players such as Maitland-Niles, who's been given time, and Nuno Tavares, who has been seen as players in the B team squad, El Neni, another player, Reece Nelson, another one, and these are players that I think Mikel Arteta will line up versus also. But in terms of how I will line up also, I'll make a few changes. In terms of the defenders, I'll rather go with Gabriel Magalhaes instead of Pablo Mari, or give other players such as Rob Holding an opportunity to have a right-sided centre-back, but Gabriel Magalhaes still has a great opportunity to feature in this West Brom game and really make an impact and just gain some confidence if he's going to play in the game versus Manchester City. In terms of other players, I do like the likes of Maitland-Niles and Tavares in the both fullback positions. Instead of Mohamed El Neni, I'll rather go with a youngster like Miguel Aziz, given the fact that he's played in some minutes and it's a great opportunity for him to be the next Bukayo Saka, for him to be the next Emil Smith-Rowe and really burst onto the first team. In terms of the number 10 position, I think Martin Odegaard has a great opportunity to really gain some confidence, and I'd rather see Odegaard play instead of Smith-Rowe, because Smith-Rowe has impressed in the games that he's played in my opinion, but I'd rather go with Martin Odegaard rather than Emil Smith-Rowe, given the opportunity to play in that number 10 role. If not, if he's going to play in the midfield partnering Granit Xhaka, then that's a decision for Mikel Arteta to make. If he does play in that number 8 role because he's wearing the number 8 shirt, then he can partner Granit Xhaka, and then I'll go with Smith-Rowe in that number 10 role. Up front, I do like Reece Nelson on the right, and I do like Nicola Pepe on the left, but I'd rather see Lacazette up front because he's a player that looks likely to stay at this football club, unless if he's not featuring, that could mean that he will leave, and that's a very bad decision once again by Mikel Arteta after spending £49 million on the player for him to leave next season. So this is how I want Arsenal to line up versus West Brom, and I explained how Mikel Arteta will line up Arsenal just previously, and hopefully Arsenal can get the victory because this will give us a lot of confidence moving into the game versus Manchester City, even though that's a very, very, very tough game and it's a very likely chance we will lose, but at least we need to get a win just to save. For Mikel Arteta, he needs a win to save his career at this football club. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the lineup, and hopefully you guys make sure you guys tell me if you want any other players in that team and what you guys want Arsenal to line up versus West Brom. But other than that, guys, remain blessed. Click one of the videos on the screen right now, and I'll see you there.